we've mentioned now this Prince tool a couple of times. In open source Pressbooks, a user could install Prince on their server and run it. In our case, we use something called DocRaptor, which is the
Prince is commercial and closed source. DocRaptor is Prince as a service.
got it. Thanks.
It's essentially an API for Prince. It gives you an endpoint that you can pass documents to, and it renders them back as a PDF and gives you a file that's rendered back. We used to run Prince as a binary on our servers, but the licensing actually worked out to be way cheaper to license DocRaptor because it gives you a per monthly rate with a certain number of transforms per month. And we looked at how many people were actually generating PDFs and how many PDFs were being generated. And the annual license for Prince is like tens of thousands of dollars. And
how and where do we determine which version of Prince is used by our Pressbooks tool?
It's set in your DocRaptor account. The way DocRaptor deals with Prince versions is they have different pipelines. So pipeline 8 is like Prince 12, pipeline 9 is Prince 13, and so forth. And so I think if you log into DocRaptor, you can change which pipeline you're using. And I think you may be able to pass an API setting to it as well, but we always just set it at the DocRaptor level in the configuration, and then Pressbooks just connects to their API.
Default, it's at 7.
Our default pipeline is 7, and we could get Prince 14. So we're on Prince 12, and there's a couple versions later that we're not using.
Pipeline 8 came out in October of last year and includes CSS variable support, which is Prince 13. So yeah. Prince 14 includes viewport width unit or viewport units, so VH, VW, and other things like Vmax and Vmin and stuff like that, which is kind of cool and might be useful for page layout stuff. But definitely Prince 13 would be good to get to, because then you start getting access to CSS variable.
In the past, Ned, when you were upgrading Prince or DocRaptor pipelines, what testing did you perform to make sure that there weren't
I never had the occasion to upgrade a DocRaptor pipeline, because we only started using DocRaptor about a year before I moved on from Pressbooks, and it didn't upgrade the pipeline during that time. Actually, we postponed our switch to DocRaptor until they released the pipeline with the version of Prince that we wanted. That the way to change Prince, to test a Prince change, is export the same very long book and use one of the many command line diff tools for diffing images. Like Puppeteer lets you do like capturing web pages to images. And then there's tools that people have written that let you do visual diffing to compare your web page before and after a given change. And so using one of those visual diff tools with the pages of a PDF would give you a sense of if any of the layout had changed with the new Prince version. I noticed their pipeline 8 release notes make note of one significant change to the behavior of line height normal. I don't think Pressbooks uses line height with the normal keyword value though, so you might be fine with that. I think the line height is set to 1.4 or 1.5 throughout, but those are the kind of things to look for. And I mean, really, like, testing, this sounds basic, but read the release notes, see what changes, and look for the way those features might be used and anything that they might impact. Generally, Prince upgrades are pretty safe though. There was